Well, thank you for joining us again at the Citizen Business Center. And of course, tonight we're talking about making the big leap into self-employment. And of course, joining us, Frida Owinga, thank you again for coming to the show. From Passion Profit, Daniel Porti, an African fashion PR consultant who's just recently started her own business. And as well, Rafael Ndurangu, iconic healthcare man who also made the big leap quite recently. Daniel, let's just kick off with you. When did you first decide to be your own boss?
Well, I've been a consultant for TV for a while. I still consult as a TV producer for Mashariki Mix. I make my own TV program as well called Designing Africa. But the decision to go into an agency-style business was based on the demand that was coming from different people. I've traveled across the continent to profile different African fashion events and interview with designers. And people are looking at Nairobi as a place where they can set up businesses. So we're getting a lot of inquiries from South Africa, from Nigeria and Ghana on what direction they should take if they came to Nairobi. So it was only fitting that I would professionally handle that. So the company was born.
Rafael, how about you? You had been in the sector that you're in currently and actually worked in the medical field, so to speak. How did you decide to make the leap?
To start with, I got employed for the last 5 years. Then after that, I left and I started my own business. I've been having a passion of being in business for quite a while. Still, when I was in employment, I was also doing other businesses like transport. And currently, because that is my background in medical industry, that I found that it has some avenues in this current world. So I decided to join in after being employed as a technical engineer for 2 years. Then I moved on from technical and I went to management department and I became the general manager for that company. Then after that, I decided to leave and do my own stuff.
Because you saw how much money the company was making.
Exactly.
All right, Frida, just tell us, what are some of the key things that one should consider before actually making that leap?
I think one key thing is understanding that the mindset of an employee is very different from the mindset of an entrepreneur. So they should study what does it take to be an entrepreneur and start preparing themselves and making that paradigm shift. And then also to do a personal audit to see what are their strengths. I like what Diana said, that there was a demand. Whatever it is that you're thinking of coming out to do, even if you see the company is making money, like that was very clever of you, is making money, but is there a demand for more? Or are there gaps, that this particular company is not filling that you can be able to fill? So those are some clues that can help you start preparing for that transition out of employment.
So you had technical experience,
Yes.
and you had management experience as well by the time you started your company.
Yes.
How did that help you?
That helped me enough because I was all around in the company that I used to work for. Right from the department of technical department, importation, sourcing the equipments from abroad, from China, from Europe. So when I sat down, I had to be my own boss. I had to do it on my own. I start from right from the management, go down to the service, go down to the importation, go down to the hospitals we are going to install the equipment, how to deal with the salespeople. All that is what we used to I used to do on my own.
I'm curious, how old were you when you decided to start your own business?
Basically, like I said before, I've been the business-minded person for long. Even when I was employed.
So, so what Frida is talking about, you have the mind of an entrepreneur.
Yes, exactly. And what she said about that, you find something that is not being filled in the market, you cap in and fill that gap. So I decided that there is in between the gap between the suppliers and the end user. So I decided to fill in that gap. Yeah.
How about the fear of jumping into the unknown? Because, as a consultant, and which you had done for some time on a number of TV shows, you're assured of a paycheck at the end of the month. And now you're starting something where you don't really know whether or not you're going to get a paycheck at the end of the month. How did you discipline yourself, or how did you encourage yourself to get into it?
The lucky bit for me was the fact that in everything I did, there's a consistency. So fashion for me has been the common thread in everything that I'm doing. Another bonus to that is the fact that it's African fashion. So it's something I'm very keen on pushing. There's a big opportunity, there's a very big gap for it. So that consistency, so I'm saying the same thing. If I'm producing for Mashariki Mix, it's promoting an African designer. If working on focus groups and research, market research to find where the interest is, I'm bettering my knowledge of what the consumer needs are. So for me, it was that consistency and was just that common thread. And then it also really helped that I established contacts in different countries. So our fashion capitals like Lagos or Johannesburg, Cape Town, Nairobi, I have contacts in each one of them. So that gave me the confidence to do this. And even for them, when they need something in Nairobi, my contacts, we're able to complement what they do for us on that end. So I'd say the connections that other people didn't have were my strongest point. I also supplemented my income from producing TV to sustain hiring a personal efficiently. And yes, so that for me has been the strongest point, that I never felt, will I go at a loss? I always balanced it.
I'm curious about the discipline as well required as a young entrepreneur, because there's a lot of pressure around you. You know, when people get money, usually the first thing they do is to buy a big car or go out to drink. How do you deal with that discipline?
How we deal with that is that, one, you have to have a passion when you go to business, and you know what you want. So I prepared myself well. I didn't have enough much. I didn't have so much money, because even when I was leaving the employment, I had so many people could not trust what I was doing, including my family.
Did they laugh at you?
Some of them, they told me that I cannot leave the employment. I have to go back. But because that's what I wanted, I told them this is what I want. I returned the company car. I used the Matatu for 1 month, and even paying the office rent. Sometimes I used to ask the friends, and they're telling me, you go back to the employment and all that. But eventually we made it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure you made it. I mean, Matatu for only a month and you bought a car. Clearly you did make some money. Frida, what are the rules? Are there rules about jumping into self-employment?
First, I prefer to call them recommendations, because it will differ from one person to another. So some things to think about if one is planning to leave self-employment to start their own business. First, get as much experience as possible if you can. I like what he said, that he stayed in the company and he went through the ranks, and that's the same business he's doing, so he doesn't have to learn so much. A lot of people that are starting a business normally have a technical skill, but you also need core business skills. So if we don't have, how will you get the clients? How will you have a marketing strategy? How will you do the legal structure, the accounting, which has nothing to do with liking to do fashion or selling the medical equipment. So that is very important to, while you're still working, you can equip yourself, you can empower yourself by going to different forums and, and reading books, just to start getting ready. But I think key thing is knowing yourself, your strength, knowing what gaps and opportunities are out there that you can actually fill, and maybe even testing the water before you leave. I don't advocate for people making an abrupt break. I advocate people transitioning into self-employment, because you will still need money to pay bills, and there'll be more bills. So the bills don't go away. So if you quit and you don't have a provision of some money stashed away somewhere, which most people never do, then it's going to be a real hard journey, and it doesn't have to be.
Okay. Very quickly, as we wind up, how much did you start your business with? About how much?
Terms of cash, because I had another business for transport where we got involved, 5 of us.
Yes.
And we saved for 2 years before I left the employment. Then we bought a bus, and before I left, we had around seven buses.
Okay.
Yeah,
7
from the
buses.
bank. Yeah, from the
so
bank.
you used some of your money from the
savings
transport
that
business?
we had from the,
Okay. How about you, Diana? How much money did you put aside to start your business?
I think it was about maybe 250,000
About
to set up office, cover some bills for a while. It's about 250.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have to end it there. But of course, we've been getting a lot of questions from young people saying, how much do I need to start a business? And what are some of the things that I need to think about? So thank you so much, Frida, for highlighting those for us.
Thank you.
Well, and that's how we end our big picture discussion for tonight on just how you can leap from employment into self-employment.